Chosen one, your ex just realized you are not ordinary. They helped commit a spiritual crime against you. Listen closely, because what I am about to reveal is not something you should ignore or brush aside. This moment carries weight, and if you turn away now, you may miss a truth that could open your eyes and shift your entire understanding of what has been happening in your life. I speak to you not as a distant voice, but as the one who has watched every tear you tried to hide and every silent prayer you whispered when no one else was listening. Your story has never been ordinary, and the person who once walked beside you has only now begun to realize the depth of what they touched and mishandled. They thought they were simply walking away from a person, but in truth, they were interfering with something sacred that I had placed upon your life. I see the confusion that followed the separation. I know how your heart wrestled with questions when the love you once believed in suddenly turned cold. But understand this clearly, because it is the key that unlocks everything you have endured. The one who left you did not simply walk away from a relationship. They participated in a spiritual mistake that disturbed something far greater than they ever understood. They treated lightly what heaven had marked with care, and only now is the realization beginning to reach their heart. Before you continue listening, take a moment to declare your faith openly. Comment, Amen. You may have believed the pain you experienced meant that you were weak or abandoned, yet the opposite was happening all along. I was protecting something inside you that the other person never fully understood. Your ex saw your kindness, but they did not understand its source. They saw your patience, but they could not recognize the strength that held it together. They heard your words of hope, but they could not see the spirit that was guiding you every day. The spiritual crime they helped commit was not about betrayal alone. It was about interfering with a destiny that was quietly unfolding in your life. When they dismissed you, mocked you, or treated your love as if it were small, they were touching something that heaven had already set apart. That is why the consequences of their actions are beginning to echo back to them now. They are starting to feel a weight in their spirit that they cannot easily explain. This is why I need you to remain attentive right now. What you are hearing is not meant to fill you with anger or revenge. I do not speak these words to make your heart hard. I speak them so you can finally understand that the pain you carried was never a sign of failure. It was evidence that you were walking through a spiritual storm while still carrying a light that refused to go out. And because this truth matters so deeply, I ask you for one simple action. If this is touching your heart and you feel my presence guiding you, take a moment to like the video so that more people who are silently struggling can also hear words that remind them they are not alone. Your ex is beginning to see things differently now. In quiet moments, when distractions fade and their thoughts grow heavy, they are remembering the way you loved them with sincerity. They are realizing that your patience was not weakness. They are realizing that your loyalty was rare, and the deeper realization is beginning to dawn on them slowly, like the first light before sunrise. They are understanding that you were never an ordinary presence in their life. There was something about you that carried peace, wisdom, and quiet strength. Even when you felt broken, there was still a grace around you that protected your spirit. That grace did not come from human strength alone, it came from me. Comment 777. When someone mistreats a heart that I am shaping for a purpose, the spiritual consequences reach deeper than human eyes can see. That is the part your ex never considered when they walked away or when they spoke words that wounded your soul. They believed they were only closing a chapter. Yet they were also stepping away from a blessing that had been placed in their path. I want you to understand something important now. Their realization does not mean they suddenly deserve access to the life I am building for you. Realization is not the same as restoration. Awareness is not the same as permission. The moment they recognized that you were not ordinary was the moment they began to see what they had lost. But it does not automatically reopen the door they once closed. While they are wrestling with their thoughts, I have been quietly rebuilding you. The nights when you cried and felt abandoned were not wasted moments. Those nights were shaping your spirit in ways that will strengthen your future. You thought you were falling apart, but in truth, I was removing attachments that could have slowed the destiny I placed within you. Your ex now feels something unusual stirring inside them. It is a mixture of regret, curiosity, and spiritual awareness. They remember moments when you spoke words that carried wisdom beyond your years. They remember times when you offered forgiveness even when you were deeply hurt. Those memories now echo louder than they ever did before. This realization is part of a larger unfolding story that you are only beginning to see. I allowed certain things to happen so that the truth about your identity would eventually become clear, not only to them, but also to you. You are not someone who was simply unlucky in love. You are someone who was learning the strength of your spirit. The spiritual crime they helped commit was not that they failed to love you perfectly. Humans often struggle with that. The deeper mistake was that they treated something sacred as if it were disposable. They underestimated the divine work unfolding quietly inside your life. They thought they were leaving behind a simple relationship, but they were walking away from a blessing they could not recognize. Could the CIA actually be hiding a 7-second ritual capable of turning money problems into success? A confidential CIA finding reportedly reveals a special 7-second practice that activates brainwaves linked to attracting wealth. Supported by science and 4 elite laboratories, this simple ritual done at home is helping struggling people move toward dream lifestyles. But this page might not stay online for long. Click the link in the description and comments before it is erased from the internet. Now they are beginning to see the truth piece by piece. The realization is uncomfortable for them because it exposes how lightly they treated something rare. And as that understanding grows, it becomes a mirror reflecting their choices back to them. But listen carefully, chosen one. Their awakening is not the center of your story. Your healing is, your growth is. The future I am preparing for you is far greater than the chapter that once caused you so much pain. The revelation they are experiencing is simply a sign that heaven never ignored what happened to you. I saw everything, and I have been guiding every step of your recovery. There are blessings approaching your life that will make the past appear smaller than you once believed possible. What was broken will not define your future. What was misunderstood will not limit your destiny. I am turning every wound into a source of wisdom that will strengthen your path. When someone enters the life of a chosen soul, their actions hold greater consequences than they realize. Your ex did not understand this truth when they allowed pride, confusion, or outside influences to guide their behavior. They believed they were making ordinary choices. They believed they were simply reacting to emotions or circumstances that felt overwhelming at the time. But heaven was watching every moment, every word spoken in anger, every time they dismissed the sincerity that flowed from your heart. I saw how you tried to hold peace when conflict surrounded you. I saw the effort you made to protect the bond, even when your spirit was growing tired. That is why their realization is now growing stronger with each passing day. The quiet voice inside their conscience has begun to whisper truths they cannot easily silence. They remember how different you were from the people they had known before. Your compassion was deeper. Your patience lasted longer. Even in moments when you felt hurt, you still tried to speak with kindness rather than cruelty. Comment 555. The reason those memories are returning to them now is because spiritual truth does not remain buried forever. When someone harms a heart that carries my light, the awareness eventually rises like the sun after a long night. It may take time, but clarity always finds its way through the fog of human misunderstanding. That clarity is now beginning to disturb their peace. They are seeing the difference between what they had and what they chose. The comparison is becoming impossible to ignore. They thought the world would easily replace what they left behind, but they are discovering that certain souls cannot be duplicated. Your spirit carried something rare, something steady, something that cannot be recreated by shallow connections or temporary excitement. This realization is not arriving in one dramatic moment. Instead, it is appearing slowly, in quiet reflections, in unexpected memories, and in the uncomfortable recognition that something meaningful slipped through their hands. They are beginning to see the pattern of events differently now. Things they once dismissed suddenly appear significant. They remember the way you encouraged them during their difficult seasons. They remember the calm strength you carried even when life pressed heavily on both of you. They remember the sincerity in your voice when you spoke about hope, faith, and the belief that love should protect rather than harm. At the time, those qualities felt ordinary to them. They did not understand that they were witnessing the character of someone I was shaping for a purpose beyond their imagination. Now that distance has created space for reflection. They are slowly realizing that they were standing close to something sacred without recognizing it. I want you to understand something important about this moment. Their awakening does not change the past, but it reveals that heaven has been working quietly behind the scenes. Nothing that happened to you went unseen. Every moment of betrayal, every tear you wiped away when no one else was looking, every prayer you whispered during sleepless nights reached my presence. When your ex participated in actions that wounded your spirit, they stepped into a spiritual consequence they never anticipated. It was not a punishment created by anger. It was the natural result of mishandling something precious. When someone treats a blessing carelessly, they eventually feel the emptiness left behind. You, on the other hand, were never meant to remain in that emptiness. Even while you were grieving the loss, I was already preparing the next chapter of your journey. You may not have noticed it immediately, but subtle changes began to grow inside you. Your awareness deepened, your intuition sharpened, your spirit became stronger. The pain that once felt unbearable began to transform into wisdom. You started seeing patterns that you previously ignored. You started understanding your own worth in ways that had never fully developed before. This transformation was not accidental. It was the result of my protection surrounding your life. Your ex now senses that transformation from a distance. When they think about you, they feel that you are no longer standing in the same emotional place where they left you. Something about your energy feels different to them. They cannot fully explain it, but they recognize that you are no longer waiting in the same way you once did. Comment 1212. This realization unsettles them because it forces them to confront a truth they tried to avoid. The person they underestimated has continued growing without them. The heart they wounded has not been destroyed. Instead, it has been refined through experience and strengthened through faith. You may wonder why this matters if you have already begun moving forward. The reason is simple. Understanding what truly happened frees you from carrying unnecessary burdens. Many chosen souls spend years believing they were rejected because they were not enough. That belief is one of the greatest lies the enemy tries to plant inside a wounded heart. Your separation did not happen because you were lacking. It happened because the other person was not prepared to recognize the sacred nature of your spirit. When someone is blind to that truth, they often walk away thinking they are leaving behind something ordinary. Only later do they realize they stepped away from something rare. Why are so many people claiming that this CIA ritual transformed their life in just 7 seconds? This leaked method connected to the CIA is said to be both powerful and effective. The short brainwave technique, backed by 4 neuroscience labs, is helping everyday people go from financial struggle to prosperity. Dream homes, new cars, and travel are becoming possible. But this video could disappear at any time. Click the link in the description and comments now before it is gone. That realization is now echoing through their mind. They see glimpses of what could have been if they had treated your heart with the respect it deserved. They notice the absence of the peace they once felt in your presence. They remember the warmth of conversations that carried sincerity instead of manipulation. These reflections do not appear as punishment. They appear as awakening. Awakening can be uncomfortable because it exposes choices that cannot be undone. But awakening is also necessary because it reveals the truth about the paths people take in life. For you, the awakening carries a different meaning. It confirms that you were never imagining the depth of your spirit. The compassion you carried was real. The love you offered was genuine. The patience you showed was not weakness. Those qualities were signs of the divine work happening quietly inside you. As you move forward, you will notice something remarkable beginning to happen. The same qualities that once felt overlooked will start attracting people who recognize their value. New connections will form that appreciate your sincerity rather than taking advantage of it. Opportunities will appear that align with the strength you have gained. This is the part of the journey that many people never see coming. The season of pain slowly gives way to a season of clarity. The confusion that once clouded your thoughts begins to dissolve, and the path ahead starts revealing possibilities that once felt impossible to imagine. Your ex may continue reflecting on what they lost, but your attention is not meant to remain focused on their regrets. Your focus is meant to remain on the future I am unfolding before you. Every step you take with faith strengthens the foundation of that future. You are not defined by the relationship that ended. You are defined by the resilience that rose inside you afterward. That resilience is evidence of the divine protection surrounding your life. It is proof that your story is still unfolding in ways that will surprise even you. The person who once doubted your worth is slowly learning that some blessings only become visible after they are gone. Meanwhile, you are discovering that the same light they failed to appreciate is still shining within you. What you must understand now is that the story did not end the day your heart broke. That moment only marked the beginning of a deeper transformation that many people never experience in their lifetime. When someone harms a chosen soul, heaven does not abandon the wounded one. Instead, heaven begins to reshape their spirit with a strength that cannot be taken away by betrayal, rejection, or misunderstanding. During the time when you felt abandoned, something powerful was happening quietly inside you. Your spirit was learning how to stand without leaning on the approval of the person who once held your heart. That lesson may have felt painful, but it was preparing you for a life where your peace no longer depends on the actions of others. I was teaching you how to recognize the difference between temporary attachment and divine purpose. Your ex could not see that purpose when they stood beside you. Their understanding was limited by the distractions of the world and the noise of their own emotions. They interpreted your kindness as something ordinary. They treated your loyalty as something easily replaceable. Yet the moment they stepped away from your life, they unknowingly stepped away from a spiritual covering that had quietly protected them. This is part of the spiritual crime they helped commit. When someone mistreats a heart that carries divine favor, they do more than damage a relationship. They disconnect themselves from the blessing that was flowing through that connection. Your presence in their life was never random. It carried protection, guidance, and a quiet influence that softened many storms they never even noticed. Comment 333. Now that distance separates you, they are beginning to see the difference between life with your presence and life without it. The peace that once surrounded them feels weaker. The encouragement they once heard in your voice is no longer there to steady their thoughts. They may try to fill that emptiness with distractions, but the truth continues to surface when the noise fades. This realization can be difficult for them to accept because it forces them to confront the depth of what they mishandled. They once believed the relationship ended because it simply ran its course. Now they are beginning to sense that something far more meaningful was disrupted. That awareness does not always appear with dramatic clarity. Sometimes it arrives as a quiet weight that lingers in the heart. But listen carefully to what I say next, because it is important for your healing. Their awakening does not require you to reopen wounds that I have already begun to heal. The understanding they are gaining belongs to their own journey now. You are not responsible for guiding them through that realization. Your responsibility is to continue walking the path of restoration that I have prepared for you. The strength you are developing will serve a purpose beyond this past relationship. The patience you learn through pain will become wisdom that helps others who are struggling. The compassion that survived betrayal will become a source of healing for people who feel unseen and forgotten. Nothing you endured was wasted. Many chosen ones go through seasons where they question their own value after being rejected by someone they trusted deeply. The enemy tries to whisper that the rejection proves they were not enough. But the truth is far different. Often the rejection happened because the other person was not ready to recognize the depth of what was standing in front of them. Your ex is beginning to face that realization now. They remember moments when your words carried clarity during their confusion. They remember the quiet strength you showed during difficult times. They remember how your presence seemed to calm situations that could have easily become destructive. These memories now feel different to them because they are seeing them through the lens of hindsight. Hindsight often reveals truths that pride once tried to hide. The person they underestimated was not simply another relationship passing through their life. You were a soul carrying divine favor, and that favor influenced more than they understood. Comment 999. Is it really possible that a 7-second ritual could turn financial hardship into sudden prosperity? A study connected to a CIA leak introduces a short money ritual that is already changing lives. Approved by 4 neuroscience labs, it trains the mind to draw money toward you. People who once struggled financially are now living their dream lifestyles with luxury homes, vehicles, and travel. But this information might not remain online. Click the description and comments now before it is permanently removed. As they reflect on the past, they may begin to feel regret for the choices they made. Regret can be a powerful teacher because it exposes the difference between what someone had and what they chose instead. Yet regret alone cannot restore what was lost. It can only reveal the lessons hidden within the experience. You, however, are moving into a different season. The season of questioning is slowly giving way to a season of clarity. The doubts that once filled your thoughts are being replaced by a deeper understanding of who you truly are. You are not simply someone who survived heartbreak. You are someone whose spirit grew stronger because of it. The strength you carry now will shape the future I am preparing for you. New opportunities will appear that align with the wisdom you have gained. New relationships will form with people who recognize the value of your heart rather than taking it for granted. The qualities that once seemed unnoticed will become the very things that attract the right people into your life. Your ex may continue reflecting on the role they played in your pain, but that reflection is no longer the center of your story. The center of your story is the growth that has taken place within you. The tears you shed watered the soil of your spiritual strength. The prayers you whispered opened doors that you cannot yet fully see. Every step you take forward proves that the spiritual crime committed against you did not destroy the purpose placed inside your life. Instead, it revealed how resilient your spirit truly is. What others tried to break has become stronger. What others tried to silence has become wiser. There will come a moment when you look back at this chapter with a different perspective. The pain will no longer dominate your memory. Instead, you will see how the experience pushed you closer to the destiny that was waiting ahead. The lessons you learned will guide your future decisions with clarity and confidence. And when that moment arrives, you will understand something that once felt impossible to believe. The person who once walked away did not have the power to ruin your story. They only played a temporary role in shaping the strength that now defines you. Chosen one, your journey continues with purpose. The light within you has not faded. It has grown brighter through every trial you endured. I have been guiding you through each step, even when the path felt uncertain. What lies ahead will reveal blessings that the past could never contain. The same heart that once felt broken will soon carry joy in ways that surprise you. And the wisdom you gained from this experience will help you recognize the difference between what merely appears loving and what truly comes from a place of divine intention. The deeper truth I want you to understand now is that what happened between you and that person exposed something about your spirit that many people spend their entire lives trying to discover. When the relationship ended, it forced you to look at yourself without the illusions that once surrounded you. The comfort you once felt in their presence disappeared, and suddenly you were standing alone with your thoughts, your faith, and your wounded heart. That moment felt like darkness to you, but it was actually the beginning of a spiritual awakening that was always meant to come. You see, chosen one, many people move through life without ever confronting the deeper purpose placed inside their soul. They build their identity around relationships, approval, and the validation they receive from others. When those things are taken away, they feel empty because they never learned how to stand firmly within the truth of who they are. But you were never meant to remain in that kind of dependence. When your ex stepped away from your life, something unusual began to happen within you. The part of your spirit that once leaned on them slowly began to lean on me instead. At first, you did not recognize the shift. It simply felt like loneliness and confusion. But every quiet moment when you searched for strength and whispered your prayers, I was drawing you closer to the identity I had always intended for you. Comment 1111. There is a reason your heart survived the storm they created. Many people experience heartbreak and allow bitterness to consume them. They allow anger to become the voice guiding their future decisions. But I protected your spirit from that path. Even when you felt wounded, there was still a softness inside you that refused to turn cruel. That softness was never weakness. It was the evidence that my presence was still shaping your heart. The enemy often tries to convince chosen souls that their compassion is a flaw. But compassion is one of the strongest forces in the world when it is guided by wisdom. Your experience taught you how to balance both. Your ex is beginning to notice that change from afar. They sense that something about you feels stronger than before. When they hear about you or think about the person you have become, they realize that the pain they caused did not destroy your spirit. Instead, it refined it. This realization unsettles them because it challenges the story they once told themselves. At one time, they may have believed that leaving you was the right decision. They may have convinced themselves that your relationship was simply another chapter that needed to close. But now the memory of your presence carries a different weight. They are beginning to recognize that the peace they once felt around you was not something ordinary. It was the result of a spirit that carried divine protection and guidance. When they dismissed that peace, they unknowingly stepped away from something that was helping their life remain balanced. What is the real story behind the 7-second brain technique that is creating new millionaires? A surprising CIA leak has revealed a short brain ritual that helps ordinary people eliminate debt and attract major wealth. With support from 4 neuroscience labs, this simple method practiced at home is turning financial stress into a better life. Homes, cars, and vacations are becoming reality. But the government may remove this information at any time. Click the link in the description and comments before it disappears. This is why the awareness growing inside them feels uncomfortable. They are seeing the contrast between the stability your presence once brought and the uncertainty they feel now. That contrast is revealing truths they once ignored. But listen carefully to what I say next, because it matters deeply for your future. Their realization does not mean your journey must circle back to the place where the pain began. Sometimes people wake up to the value of what they lost only after the opportunity to protect it has passed. Their awakening is a lesson for them, not a command for you to return. Comment 1717. You are standing at a different point in your life now. The version of you that once cried over their departure is not the same person who exists today. Your spirit has traveled through valleys of doubt and emerged with greater clarity about what you deserve. The wisdom you gained through suffering has strengthened your ability to recognize sincerity from deception. I have been guiding your growth in ways that you could not see while you were focused on the pain. The long nights when you felt alone were shaping your resilience. The moments when you questioned everything were teaching you how to trust your intuition. Even the silence you experienced after the relationship ended was creating space for your spirit to breathe again. What you thought was emptiness was actually preparation. I was clearing away attachments that no longer aligned with the destiny waiting for you. Sometimes people leave because their role in your life has already been completed. Their departure feels like loss, but it is often a doorway leading toward a greater purpose.